Hey famous warrior, welcome back to our channel. Today I have an amazing episode lined up for you guys. My brothers, my friends are here. The song that's coming to my mind right now is The Boys Are Back in Town, because they've literally cut a rip for the past hour and a half as we've been doing this recording, and I am so excited for you guys to listen to this conversation. They are going to be talking about friendship among men and how they have practically maintained these friendships that they call brotherhoods. So I hope that you guys will find this conversation not just enlightening, but also that it will challenge you, especially if you're a guy out there, to make investments in your own guy-on-guy relationships. So to get us started in true famous warrior fashion, can you each tell us something about yourself in 5 sentences?
All right, so my name is Joshua Mlea. I'm married. I am a father of 1 son. I'm a Christian. I think I'm fun. I would love to believe I am. Very easygoing, and I love to cook.
And I'm Stephen Katongo, Chivesa. Depending on where you knew me from,
Yeah.
You call me Chivesa or Steve. Others call me Katongo. I am a father of 2 boys and a girl, husband of 1 wife, and I believe I'm spontaneous and adventurous.
You can confirm.
I'm Benjamin Moyowambuya, but I also use Jordan, depending where you knew me from. I'm husband of 1 wife. I am a pastor. I'm sometimes controversial. I'm opinionated, and I'm passionate about life. I'm passionate about the Word of God, and I'm passionate about Africa.
How did you guys meet or become friends, and how long have you been friends?
So we all met at Miracle Life Family Church. Not at once, but systematically. This 18 years ago.
For me, I think what's very vivid is meeting Benjamin. We had signed up to serve together at one of the VBS. I think that should have been 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
And the relationship just evolved. Starting out with Benjamin. At some point, I met Steve. Were you staying together already?
No, not yet.
You weren't, huh?
We didn't like each other.
No,
No, we did. He just didn't like my cape.
I just didn't like wearing it.
You didn't like wearing caps in church?
Don't wear a cap in church. We are worshiping.
Yeah.
So you guys lived together at some point. Tell us a bit about that. How did that happen? How long did you stay together?
How did it happen, Benj?
2008 December, you were planning to move to Kamwala, and you asked if I could come and move in with you. I said, yeah, I'd be happy to, and we stayed together for 1 year.
And you were transitioning at that point.
I was transitioning, yes. I was leaving my grandmother's house. I said, now let me begin to live on my own. Because all along I'd been living with my grandmother. But you had been living on your own with your brothers for a long time.
I taught you how to live on your own.
Absolutely.
Nice
We used to eat out of Mishima with eggs.
With our friend,
With our farmer.
William Farmer. I just saw the washing machine. I heard the washing machine. I knew this was the place.
I think we're the only ones that know about the washing machine.
And then,
Even the neighbors used to bring their clothes.
I know Joshua and Benjamin, you also lived together at some point. So when did that happen, and how long were you housemates?
So I was, yes, probably similar setup. I was living with my parents, and then I wasn't driving. I had started to serve as an usher, and it required me to be at church pretty early in the morning on a Sunday. And this is after we had moved to the new church building. So Benjamin, having moved to Roma, very close to the church, seemed convenient. But also away from that, we had a tendency to hang out on a Friday night and pretty much spend the weekend together. So it was a very natural transition for me out of my parents' house to join Benjamin in what we had dubbed the cottage.
My brother, remember, it was also Cleveland and Sharon.
Oh, yes!
In fact, it was Joshua. After I lived with Stephen, I got a job with. I used to work for Teach to. We both, Joshua and I, used to work for Teach to Fish, and then Joshua left Teach to Fish.
You left first.
No. Who left first? I left, then he left. Then
you got a job at church.
Which was near the neighborhood. So it was convenient now for me to. And back then the church office was at the annex building, so it was convenient. So Joshua was living in Olympia, so he asked if I could move in with him. So actually I was the first to move in with Joshua. I became Joshua's husband. It was a very good place because there the staple diet was soya beans, which we used to buy from Spa. And it was
soya powder.
So we used to walk from Olympia along Katimamulu Road to Spa at the kids and walk back. Those were very good days, actually.
All right.
Yes, you forgot it. And then Chris used to come and pick us up. Chris used to come all the way from Woodlands. Mm-hmm. He would come because Joshua used to serve in the first service. Mm-hmm. In those days at Oasis, before we even moved to the new building, first service was 7:30 or 7 hours. There was there was an early morning service.
So we had to be at church at 6:50.
And Joshua was so committed. He would sometimes leave me sleeping. He would go to church as sometimes it would be dark, like 6:50, 6:40. Chris would come pick him up and they'd go. He recruited Chris to be an usher. And then after serving as an usher, he would then take off the usher uniform and then go and wear casual clothes. No, not casual clothes, but more lighter clothes and go and serve with children.
Oh yeah,
he used to teach us at the third. You've forgotten.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, it brings back such memories. I was staying in Olympia, and
it was eventful.
Very, very, very eventful.
So you guys seem to have this very beautiful relationship and friendship. Why do you think usually guys would typically have a lot of acquaintances but not actual like friends? The way you guys are describing, you were in each other's space, you'd hang out over the weekend, you were living together. That sounds like you are in each other's worlds, like legit.
I would attribute it to the fact that I think as men, generally, we're not one to be vulnerable. We're not one to really just talk and discuss things that are negative. I mean, that have to do with us that are negative. What I've seen with either one of us and pretty much the extended circle of other close friends of ours is that we've more or less allowed each other to get into each other's space, like you were saying, and share the good times and the bad times. Benjamin, for instance, when we lived together, we were barely making it financially, and we didn't need to pretend. I remember one time with Steve, we walked from
Northmead.
Yes, we walked from Northmead to Nipah. then we couldn't find a bus, and we hoped, okay, we'll find one as we go. Then we got to Kabwata, then Woodlands in the end. and I was just talking, you know, and this is like past 21 hours, and we're just like, at some point we got on a small taxi, but it didn't take us far, you know, and yeah, you know, times were hard then, you know.
It didn't feel like it.
It did. But it hurt, man.
The one.
The faith hurt, yeah. Remember that time we went to Alliance Francaise, and then there was no transport, and then we walked back, and then at some point we stopped a car, a security guards.
Those trucks for security.
That carry security guards,
yeah.
and we asked them to give us a lift up to Nipa area somewhere, and then we walked to Kamala again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you know, that was our life. Allowing each other to really share in the downtimes has helped us form depth with regards to our relationships. Even at this point, it's I can tell, even without Steve saying, that, you know what, something is amiss. Do we need to intervene? And also allowing each other to have the ugly conversations. We can't count the number of times, you know, we've had what would be termed a fallout. We don't talk for 2 weeks. You know what, this guy, you can jump off a cliff, and, you know, next thing you hear, Benji's unwell, and I'm the first one there.
First you call first.
Yeah.
Benji is not well. Then I would say he's pretending.
do I pretend to be unwell?
But yeah, you know, those kind of things. Yeah, so I think, dealing with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that.
And I think also it's the, for all three of us, we were already believers, and each of us have our own salvation story of how God saved us. Steve has a story that can be traced back to the Copper Belt. Joshua has wrote the Copper Belt. Myself in the Northern Circuit. So the North seems to be very significant in our lives. And then we spent, and funny enough, we all spent some time in the South as well. Joshua went to school in the South, Steve went to school in the South, I worked in the Southern Province for some time. Then for some reason we all congregated again. We congregated in Lusaka, and then we met. But when we met, we were already believers. And I think that has played a very significant role in our lives. Knowing God. These two gentlemen, I can tell you, in all the years I've known them, are God-fearing men. They're not perfect, neither am I, but they are God-fearing men. And you know, I'm a pastor. They are not, but they have placed that high premium on honoring their relationship with God and walking in the ways of the. And I think that's one of the things that has really kept us knit together. In a sense, the combined reverence that we have for God. Even when we live together, we'd have long debates, long discussions about the Bible, would see things differently. But also, we also had moments of prayer. Moments when one of them would come. Remember that night, I think in Kamala, we used to pray a lot. We used to pray our future. We used to pray in Olympia. We used to pray in Roma. We would study the Word of God. We would be vulnerable with each other about things that we're going through. But also, like I said a few minutes ago, Joshua's commitment just to service, to church, Katongo's commitment in the way that he also expressed it. There was a time that he committed himself only to attending the evening service. There was a time there was an evening service at Miracle Life here. But still, I think it's that fact that we honor God. And I think the God factor has played a critical role.
Off the top of your head, what practical ways have you cultivated vulnerability and that openness that you're talking about, that other men watching can be like, oh, okay, these are some practical steps that I can also employ with my friends?
I think it's, one of the reasons is because we've been together for a long time. And I think we've seen a lot of times, the good ones, the bad ones, growth. when we got to know each other, Benji was still staying with his grandmother. Joshua was still with his parents. I came here. I do have family, but I left home at 16, so I've always been on my own. I think it's being open and being candid with each other. It's not always been rosy. We've had some very tough conversations. We've had some very, very good, great conversations. We've had fallouts where you just say, I'll never talk to that guy. In Bemba, we say, yeah, but then we get back together. We do have very honest conversations, and then we also capitalize on each other's strengths. Joshua is very organized, very structured, comes from a very organized home, structured place.
Cohesive family.
Yeah, cohesive family. I was orphaned much early in life. Not that we suffered, but the funny thing about being orphaned is that no matter how well you're looked after, no matter how good your life is, there's always that element of being a parent. Yeah, the experience with parents that's usually missing. So the thing about it is I had to grow up quickly. I had 2 siblings that I had to take care of, and so it sort of pushed me into a certain place very quickly. I had to learn things very quickly. And then you have Benjamin here, who's very traditional, very rigid, very ceremonial. Very ceremonial. He's able to see, in protocol, he's able to pick out what's wrong, what's right. I'm an off the beaten path kind of guy. For me, I think some of the worst arguments we've had is, there's a time I used to attend church. I would do worship and then buy CD when we used to, the sermon, and go and listen at home, and that didn't settle. And then there've been times it's our walk. For instance, my personal walk with God has not always been perfect. I've had my down times, and these are the guys who've come to lift me in my down years. My wife knows who to call when there's a problem. So that's the kind of relationship we've cultivated. It's just being vulnerable, being open to each other. And my understanding of integrity is that it's not just about us showing our strengths, it's also showing our weaknesses. Yeah, what you can do, what you can't do. But we enjoy music together.
Too much.
But speaking into that, one practical way is to view friendship, especially amongst men, as brotherhood. I have 2 older siblings. I have 2 sisters that are older than me, and a younger brother. And one thing that I really yearned for was having, a peer brother, or slightly older. Both, these guys are older than me. And if you look at it, if you look at the friendship in terms of a family setup, it really helps in staying closely knit. And really, that's what I believe we have either with these 2 and a good number of our very close friends that are not here. In most family gatherings where I come from, the gathering is not complete if either one of them is not there. My sisters graduate, Benjamin would always come in, and even when we gather, as long as Benjamin is around, we know who's giving the opening prayer.
It's not subject to discussion.
We know the drill. So
I remember once when Joshua's sister was passing out. She's an officer in the Zambia Air Force, and I was working. Now the pass out parade was on a Friday, so I'm off on Fridays because of the work that I do. And I was working on Thursday, so Joshua and the family took off Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon. I knocked off at 17. I was hoping to catch the bus, so I went to Intercity. There was no bus, and they told me the bus was going to leave at 20. So I sat in this bus, and I realized these guys were were conning me. Because 20 hours is nothing. then, they hire these people that sit in the bus and make you feel like the bus is moving. And then someone came to me and said, but boss, the bus is in Roxanne. So I'm from Livingston in Danny Chappie. I thought, this guy is conning me. So I got my little bag. I didn't carry much. It was a day trip. I went to Cosmopolitan, if you know Cosmopolitan Mall, just there at McKinney. And I waited there from about 21 hours, because it took me an hour to come from the city there, until midnight, when a post courier van that was taking newspapers gave me a ride. I sat on top of newspapers, and they were dropping off newspapers. So with every stop, the newspapers were reducing, and they were dropping off newspapers from all the way from Kafiwe up to Livingston. By the time we got to Livingston, there were no newspapers. I just had to sit on the hard van. But we drove all night, and I made it to Livingston at 06. And at 9, I was at the Zambia Air Force Base attending Joshua's sister's graduation. And then at 14, after that, we're driving back with Joshua, his dad, his brother. That's
And then I couldn't believe it,
I drove all night. I didn't drive, but I rode all night.
Yeah. So I think, just keeping it family. Keeping it family. Family can be a dirty affair. But really that has helped us over the years.
And I think one of the things that we've done is about being vulnerable is to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly, and just tell it as it is. In some of the conversations that we would have with Chibesa when we lived together, he would tell me about some of his uncles, in the copper board, and their irresponsibility, and not to judge them. And he wasn't speaking from a condescending perspective, but he was just talking about, I don't want to end up like them. I don't want to end up like and I also would tell him about my own, in a sense, my own family and the junk for my family, and how I don't want to end up going down that path. So I think it's learning from the mistakes and the failures of those that have gone ahead of us. They say experience is the best teacher, but the best experience is someone else's experience, where you can look and say, hey, we can avoid those mistakes. And so, it's not just with Stephen, but we've also had those kind of candid conversations with Joshua and many other friends, and where we determine and say, what kind of man do we want to be? And I always told Joshua and Steve, I say, we are living today what we prayed about 10 years ago. We are living today what we were talking about in 2007, in 2008, in 2010. It's not as we envisioned it. It's not all as it should be. But if we're truly being honest, these are some of the conversations that we used to have. What kind of fathers do we want to be? I remember having a very good conversation with Joshua once. I can't remember when. He'd gone for a workshop and he said, just the impact of a dad being at home with his children, having dinner with his children and his wife, can actually reduce the chances of children going astray and ending up getting HIV and AIDS at an early age, and just going down a different path. And I remember Joshua saying that conversation that I want to be that kind of dad who's there for my children, who's there to have dinner with my kids, and I've seen him doing that now that he's a father. But these are conversations where we had in 2005, 2006,
Early on.
In the early days.
When we had no girlfriends.
I don't know if anyone wanted us to be our boyfriends.
Would you say that such friendships that you guys have cultivated are necessary for every man to have?
They are. I mean, we're living in an age where mental health is really the conversation of the day. And really, I think it has a lot to do with men not having an authentic relationship with people where they can talk about stuff. And you see, our relationship is very dynamic. There are challenges where I know, I think the person I need to speak to is Stephen about this. And we'll have a goal at it, whether I pop into the office and it's 2-3 hours and we're just talking. Sometimes it doesn't even need to give me an outright solution, but he just needs to affirm, empathize. And I know that only Steve can really relate to this challenge and stuff that I'll talk to Benjamin about. Sometimes we occasionally do Friday lunch to a pandula, and it's free-flowing conversation, and it's just good therapy. So every man needs that. You're married, you're single. We're pretty much all married now, save for one or two guys. It's good to open up to your spouse, to your, but there's just guy conversation that you need to have. And I wish as many men could have what we have.
That's true.
So everyone needs a Joshua.
Yeah.
Cheeky, sarcastic,
Come on, man.
but organized. Everyone needs a Benjamin. Rigid, loud,
Rigidities.
and reactive, eh?
Not rigid, not responsive, not reactive. Very responsive.
Then afterwards, when he cools off, he thinks through, then he calls you. But babe, I'm so sorry. I think then I'm like,
But what's a relationship
but
also without Steve?
Do you ever quote that I apologize?
I'm too proud to I'm from that scripture
just
in the
forgive.
Bible. From that scripture in the Bible.
Yeah.
Look, 16, I'm too proud to beg.
But I know how you apologize. You apologize through actions.
Gestures.
Yeah.
Gestures. But we forgive you, we understand. No, it's true. These relationships are very important. And also, life is hard.
Yeah.
And I wish we would say, the older you get, the better it becomes. It does become better, but it also becomes harder. And I like what Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton sang. You can't make old friends. You can try to make some new ones as life goes along, but there's just a certain level of depth that's there with the friends that you've had from a long time. And the older you get, the more you realize that these relationships that you've cultivated over time actually play a crucial and critical role in the hard times, in the good times, and the times in between. I remember in our early conversations, Stephen said to me, when I was considering taking down a path in ministry, he said, he said to me, you have a future in ministry. And I was like, I don't know. But those words have stuck and they've remained, and I'm grateful. And also Joshua, through the years, he's just been very kind. Even yesterday, we were just having a candid conversation about what I do and where God has taken me, where God wants to take me. And the reason I think why someone can speak the way that he does is because he has broader and grander perspective. Whereas some people just see this part, they see a whole different part. Long before I was even Pastor Benjamin, I was friends to these guys, and these guys were journeying with me, and they know my story, and they've been there to encourage me. And even in the lowest moments of my life, they've been there to encourage me, and that's what we do for each other. Yeah.
What practical things would you be able to share with guys watching of ways that they can be purposeful about cultivating guy-to-guy friendships.
Make friends. He that wants to make friends must show himself to be friendly. Make friends. That's number one. Just take the risk. Number two, I would also say, make friends within your circle of company. Now, if you are in a church, if you are a Christian and that's your inclination, that's the best place to start. Joshua and I met when we were serving. So make friends. Start within the circle of company. Number three, serve. I think most of the other friends again that we've met and the relationships that we've developed over the years. I mean, we're a wide circle of friends. We've met either within the proximity or the perimeters of service. Maybe one or two were just isolated and standing there, but almost everybody we met because we're doing something together. I believe that men are driven by a cause. There's something within us that wants to achieve something just beyond extraordinary. Joshua and I, Stephen and I, and a few others, we were part of this. I mean, Alinani, Robert, Benedafis. I mean, some are falling off over time, but we were part of this thing that was trying to establish young entrepreneurship in this country long before there was all these entrepreneurship hubs and all these things. Many years ago, we already started having those conversations, and I wonder where we would be if we had continued. But we were, I mean,
where are we?
but there was a cause, and some of the friends that we made through those causes. Again, other friends that we've made along the way, it's because we were found within proximity of serving. So I would say just three things. Number one, just step out, step into the water. You won't drown. Number two, find friends from within your company, your church, your congregation. Number three, be doing something. Find people who are doing something. Yeah. What do you think, guys?
You have to be intentional. If all of you are first movers, if I may say, that's a practical way. You be the one to step out. Say, hey, Benjamin, my name is Joshua. And make time. You have to give. This friendship has come with a lot of giving, time, lots and lots of time. In the bad times, in the good times. I remember one time I lost my nephew, and that was into the night, And I called Benjamin. I said, Benjamin, this has happened. I'm heading to the hospital. And he says, okay, give me 10 minutes, I'm coming. And, it's those deposits, such that, when Benjamin makes that call, I don't even think twice, I reach for my shoes and I'm out through the door, and heading to help him. So first of, give. You have to have an attitude where, you're all trying to outgive each other, whether it's time, resource, or just being there for someone, words of encouragement.
What are some traits that you would encourage guys out there to be looking out for in a potential friend?
I think the great place to start is, let's have a target. One common thread amongst us is that we went through some form of mentorship very early on to determine what kind of life we envisioned. This can be multifaceted. As a man, generally, as a parent, as a husband, etc., family life, what do we see? So that kind of sets the course. And even in a big group, you can more or less tell who is showing traits of going the same direction as I am. Do I aspire? Does Benjamin aspire? Can we aspire together and steer each other forward? As the Bible would say, iron sharpens iron. And that has been pretty much common amongst us. So for anyone who's looking to cultivate a relationship of depth, number one, you need to understand, where do you want to go? What do you want out of life? Who do you see doing what you want to do? And who do you think is more or less trying to figure out to equally get there? And it doesn't have to be like for like. I'm an entrepreneur, working in the secular market, and my close friend is in ministry, but it works. And we can talk for hours, about a lot of things. And you more or less see that we are aspiring towards more or less the same things. Figure.
The fact that you've been friends for so long, you've had to navigate a lot of life stage changes, whether it's career, wives, children. How have you practically navigated those changes and kept your friendships as a priority even through those demands that are now growing in your lives?
I think for me, there are certain things that stand out. First, like he said, in some cases, I'm speaking for myself, you have to be strategic with the friendships you kind of attract or gravitate towards. I've always wanted, usually because I'm the firstborn where I come from, I never had an older brother. I grew up with some of my uncles. I've always befriended older men who are older than me for some reason. I've always looked for friends who come from a solid family setup. Why? Because I feel that I've gone through all stages for everybody. We were a solid family, the divorce happened, deaths happened, you move in with an aunt. So I know everything in that regard. So even in a wife, personally, I was looking for someone from a solid family background, a structured kind of system, because I personally am not. So that's where these guys come in. So in the group that we were in at first, when we were getting to know each other, you somehow begin to see which people, you share the same values with. Mm-hmm. There are certain values that stand out. There are certain values, there are certain standards that you can't go below. We've had mentors along the way. We had the same mentors. Even now we have the same mentor. We have a friend. He's been married far longer than us. I think before we got married, he's the one who mentored us into that. Mm. And we would spend countless hours at his residence.
Living 04.
Yeah. So we would go there probably early on a Friday night and leave.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that friendship has been quite enriching.
Absolutely.
Because I think he's witnessed almost everything. The heartbreaks.
Yeah.
The marriages.
Being rejected.
The rejections. The near crazy.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, so he's seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's an open house. So you sort of look for those values. We have had the same mentors. We've looked for the same kind of future. From the onset, we were talking about, as Benjamin said, the future we are living now. It may not be perfect, but we talked about this a long time ago, and we stuck to each other because I know, from the tone of my voice, is able to know there's something wrong with Makatongo. And they'll find a way behind my back to probably come and see me or send an emissary so it's like that. If I go missing for a bit, they know that there's something cooking somewhere.
we tend to know when there's the missing where he's up to no good, and there's the missing where something is wrong, or there's the missing he's busy. And we kind of just say, hey, when did you just talk to Steve? You know what, let's go see this guy.
Or sometimes Joshua will say to me, are you okay? I said, no, you didn't look okay in church today. You know, well, like everyone else would just see me to be okay, you know. And sometimes like I'll be maybe, anchoring the service and praying and stuff. You should just say, no. Baba, are you okay? I'm like, I am. He said, no. I say, okay, let me tell you, I'm not okay. There's this problem. or there's this situation I'm going through. Yeah.
But really quickly, just to chip in, what has helped us navigate, we also have very similar common tastes in the women that we've eventually married. And it also has been more or less seamless for them to integrate into our family. It's funny how my wife is literally pretty much friends with all my,
And they conspire.
To
commit felony behind our back.
And she cracks the whip, every now and then.
But extremely resourceful.
Yeah.
Extremely.
And it's cross-cutting, We've gotten to know Nsamba very, very well. Mwansa, who's I think one of the most quiet ones, tends to find comfort also across. Like we're pretty much in each other's faces. So, we're dealing together, taking a village to raise this.
How do you navigate parting company with someone who you are seeing like, okay, we're not walking on the same path anymore?
Yeah. I won't mention names.
No, don't.
Best ask the pastor.
I won't mention names. But you know what? To be honest, some of them, they just fade. They just phase off. Don't stress it. Don't even. You don't need to have. Let's have a cup of coffee, parting conversation.
A breakup.
No, a breakup. Do that for the girl that you're dating. You think that you're going to marry her. Just say, let me be polite. Don't just phase off. But for I think for brothers and friends, it just kind of phases off. Your interests start becoming different. Your tastes start becoming different. Character traits start manifesting that you realize, hey, that's not in me. That's in there. It just phases off. So and when it does, don't force it. Just let it be. Just let it be. It just happens. And I think we there are those where it just flows like a river.
Yeah.
It just flows like a river, and just let it be. Yeah.
I think also in this age of internet, it's very easy to tell the fake from the authentic. I think one of the themes in our friendship has really been centered on being authentic. It's really been quite a strong theme. I would know when Benji is lying or when Joshua is lying. I would know. Yeah, but maybe in public I would even support, but in private I would say Abdallah. We know you. Yeah, so it's very easy. Me and he, all of us at some point have lived in an environment where we knew that even though things are hard, we really don't fit in here. You remember that street? We lived in a place that we left a long time ago. Some of our peers are still there, actually wallowing in the same things as yesterday, living, In the
bygones.
The good old days. But I think we, in our friendship, we're also futuristic because once in a while we come back to each other and say, have you done this? Like there's these boxes you have to tick. Yeah. Once upon a time we stood at a bus station in Kamwala, and I was telling him, I think I see your future in church. And among those people, being Benjamin, and I'm going to pray about it eventually. It's 9 years, 10
years.
Yeah, but you had to start from somewhere. And also the Bible says iron sharpens iron, train a child in the way you should go. So I think there are certain principles that we've stuck to that are common. Yeah, in this group and in also the other extended group. Yeah.
For me, if there's one word I would say about all of this is character. Character. And I said that in the beginning. These are men of character.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that has kept even this friendship that's here and even the other friendships intact is character. You've got to be looking for character.
Before we switch to rapid fire, just in a word or two, I want each of you to say what you appreciate most about your friendship.
I appreciate the consistency.
I think I do appreciate the honesty, the authenticity. Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that I know these guys have my back.
Yeah.
They'll show up. I know.
Okay, rapid fire, 10 questions. Here we go. Number 1, who is the loudest?
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Who is the most adventurous?
Chimesa.
Who is usually the first to apologize?
Me, I apologize.
Joshua apologizes.
Do I do too?
Sometimes not in that voice you want him to apologize.
Okay, but I do too. Also, I do that.
No, Joshua does it on the spot.
Okay.
You have to think through it.
Yeah, okay.
Who is the most reserved?
Me.
Joshua.
Who is the one you take to a fight?
This one.
Who is the one you take to a business meeting?
Joshua.
Awesome. Who is the most diplomatic?
Me.
Who is the most blunt?
This one.
House of beggars.
Who is the funniest?
We'll go for it.
Last but not least, who is always late?
Steve.
Okay.
Completely.
I was late for my first date.
I'm even surprised he came early today because I had to intervene.
Yeah.
Well, in a sense,
For me
I
to be
intervened.
late. Yeah. But Steve, you're lucky you even came.
Because you
No, I promise, Louise,
He would
I
only
am
be
not-
showing up now.
No, I'm actually a fan of this podcast, so